once you invest in those, it's kind of that Hotel California. Once you get in, you can't necessarily get your data out effectively. So once you build that practice, those things can grow exponentially.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Incident Report presented by Quest Technology Management. I'm Paul Burke, Director of Technology Communications. Every week, I'm joined by VP of Sales and Partnerships, Adam Burke. The Incident Report brings you conversations with thought leaders, business innovators, and channel mavericks to help you stay productive and agile in a changing technology landscape. Adam, how are you doing?
Doing good, Paul. Doing good. Today is the 28th of March. And the reason I bring that up is because I got a joke for you. What did the 5 fingers say to the face?
I don't know.
Slap, right? Slap heard around the world yesterday. 27th was the Oscars. Fantastic evening of revelry, joy, and just, if I may say so, complete respect for the institution and just class acts all around. Nothing else to discuss at that event whatsoever. I was really impressed. And the security too. Amazing security.
Adam,
you got nothing, do you? You got nothing. I came in way too hot. For those of you listening, we talked a little bit about that before we started recording, and I told Paul, nah, let's not even bring it up. It's probably a little bit of a sensitive topic, but you know what? It's happening in our world, and I thought we'd talk a little bit about it. My brother, Paul, the improv king, I got you blanking on me. I love it.
I have been thrown under the bus because here's the thing. You said we should not talk about it. So I immediately in my brain say, put it to bed, Paul, put it away in your brain. And then you launch so hard and so quick with so many jokes. It's pretty funny.
Excited to be here. We are closing up the 3rd month of the year. It's been a fun year. It's been pretty exciting things going on. I know we got some good topics we're going to cover today.
While I was not prepared for that comedy onslaught, Adam, I am prepared for a smooth transition. Just like the Oscars having its difficulties, let's say the Microsoft transition to the new partner score is also a little challenging. This article is from channelpartnerinsight.com and brought to us by Kelly Reese. The article, Global Petition brands Microsoft's new partner score as impossible and biased with no reward for loyalty.
I love the headline because, last episode, we kind of talked around it, and I kind of spoke in my Silicon Valley polite speak around like ways that it could be a challenge and could be seen as a difficult thing for channel partners and stuff out there. And they went right for the face on this one as far as basically calling it impossible, biased, and no reward for loyalty. It was an interesting read. They definitely kind of cut right to it a little bit better than we did last time talking through it.
It begins with a new online petition has been created protesting Microsoft's recent announcement of the upcoming changes to its partner network program. The changes, set to come into play by October, include renaming the program from Microsoft Partner Network to Microsoft Cloud Partner Program. But that's not the main issue. They're not angry about the name change, Adam. The most controversial alteration comes from the Partner Capability Score, which the petition published by change.org claims is focusing more on new sales while dismissing the retention of existing customers. Quote, when you look at the upcoming requirements being placed on Microsoft partners in October 2022, the emphasis has shifted into sell, sell, sell at all costs, the petition reads. All Microsoft partners will now be given a partner capability score. A partner must achieve at least 70 out of 100, which for the vast majority of partners out there will be impossible to achieve as it's heavily biased towards new sales. It seems there is no reward for loyalty.
Well, that's cute. And you know what else is cute? Paul, you went to UC Davis. I went to UC Davis. And you know what I focus on at UC Davis? C's get degrees. All right. So all you need is 70%. All right. You need a 70% to get to that customer score. And I get what some of these folks are fired up about, but it's that never ending debate that goes on out there as far as, do you sell new stuff or do you focus on maintaining what you got? And it seems like, people kind of caught on to the idea that Microsoft's pretty interested in you selling new stuff, because they definitely incentivize part of your score in that partner program as far as attaining new customers, selling new product SKUs, and basically boosting up Microsoft's sales, which they're a brand. They're a huge software company that's, you got to sell. They got to move product. I don't care if it's digital or physical. You got to move weight.
It's funny you mentioned college, because when I read this, I thought of being a teacher, and I feel like this would be a bunch of students putting a petition out on change.org that says, "I'm so frustrated. These teachers are so focused on homework. Where's the loyalty? I've been in this class every day for the last 8 months. Don't I get anything for that?"
Yeah, well, there's the idea of, well, loyalty around, hey, we've invested and had engineers trained on this stuff, and we've had people, we've been evangelizing your products for a long time. And the Microsoft folks kind of pat them on the head and say, that's cute. Now get back out there and sell. Deal. It's brutal, but the thing about it is people just need to evaluate, okay, that's what's important to this partner. That's what's important to this vendor. We deal with that all the time. Any vendor that comes into our office, any vendor that ever comes into us and wants to partner, the main thing we want to understand is, how is that person on the other side of the table, how are they making their number? What are they focused on? Because everything is always focused on how an organization is going to make that number at the end of the day. What's their philosophy around growing and retaining customers? You don't have to listen to what people say. You got to watch what they do. And what Microsoft just told the partner community is, this is what's important to us. It could be right or wrong, but right or wrong, they put it on paper and they put it out there to the market. This is what's important to us. So I wouldn't really care what your channel managers or anybody really says. I would focus on what they do. And if they, they're putting out these new programs, that's really what's important to them. So then you got to evaluate, okay, how are you as a managed service provider or as a, trusted advisor going to use that tool in your kit bag to work with your customers? It's really evaluating what's important to you, what's important to your partner, and then where do those things overlap?
And I don't want to dismiss change.org, but I don't know what they're hoping to accomplish with this.
Squeaky wheel gets the grease. Another horrible analogy is the pendulum swings a little bit far. Maybe they overswung. Maybe they went a little bit too far into the whole sell thing, and they'll get some feedback and they'll tweak the program. They always do. The vendors always tweak the program, adjust things. They're getting feedback from partners, and they do care about what their partners think, and don't want to boil the frog too slowly. If I turn up the heat too fast, it jumps out of the pot.
Great point. There is value. I do find it interesting this article did not cite the number of people that have signed the petition. Finally, it says, this is not the first time Microsoft has caused an uproar from its partners following an announcement of contentious changes. In 2019, the vendor decided to remove internal use rights from its gold and silver partners. The decision meant that partners would no longer be able to use Microsoft software free of charge, except for development and test scenarios. So again, I think this is what you're saying. Look and see what's happening. What are they trying to say with the changes?
Yeah, they're a very, very large, dominant player in multiple different fields of the software industry. One of the things we're seeing in all SaaS businesses, right? A great podcast to listen to is Invest Like the Best. Another one I love is called On the Tape. And they had an episode last week called Fear is the Market Killer. And it's how they had a guest on it called Gavin Baker, who talks about how all of these SaaS companies are just dialing in how they're charging for things. At consumer, we all saw it, I don't know, like a month ago, Netflix decided to add costs to their subscription, to their monthly recurring charges. And they also decided to, hey, we're going to track how many concurrent Netflix logins are associated with a certain username and password, right? So I got a couple dollars at home. We got iPads, we got TVs all around. So all of a sudden, Netflix is saying, hey, you got too many devices logged into this one Netflix subscription. You got to log out of some other ones. And so one of the things that Gavin was pointing out in On the Tape last week was a lot of these software companies have pricing power, and Microsoft is one of the largest, well, probably the largest, and has amazing pricing power when it comes to, turning their cost to partners, cost to end users, cost of subscriptions. They have so many points of leverage to basically manipulate their business in a way that's favorable for their earnings, however they want to report those to the street. All you can really do as a service provider is decide, okay, how are you going to interface with Microsoft? And then with your customers, how are you going to help communicate to them these changes so they're aware of it? I mean, they dominate the market, so you basically have to figure out how you're gonna relate to it.
That makes so much sense. Thank you for walking me through that. Now, our next article, Adam, this is one you highlighted and said you really wanted to dive into and discuss. And I'm looking forward to learning more about everything as a service. It's on channel-E2E.com. It's how real is everything as a service. It's a revenue reality check, private versus public cloud, and everything as a service. Enterprise IT vendors such as Cisco, Dell, Hewlett Packard continue to tout everything as a service, businesses, and technology consumption models, essentially offering hardware, software, and associated support for a monthly subscription fee. In some ways, those efforts reflect growing customer demands for all types of scale up or scale down technology, which allow partners and end customers to avoid massive capital expenditures. But in other ways, everything as a service vendor efforts are a response to widely popular, fast growing public cloud services. Fast growing public cloud services from Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud Platform. So how popular is everything as a service technology consumptions model? And they break it into three parts. They break it into everything as a service revenues are growing, and in some cases, the growth is rapid. Part two, everything as a service dollar figures remain tiny compared to the far more popular, still growing public cloud options like Azure, Google, and Amazon. And three, the revenue gap between public clouds and everything as a service alternatives appear to be widening.
When you sent me this article, I got fired up. This is fantastic. Everything as a service, consumption IT. So we've been talking about this at Quest for a very, very long time. Back in 2007, 2008, Tim added an additional capability to our platform, really how we go to market and how we sell IT as a service. So these ideas of, Cisco Plus, Dell Apex, and HPE GreenLake, Quest has been providing QuestFlex for years, where we put together as a service model for defined compute. So you say you need part A, part B, part C, that's compute, storage, network, and all the other components, software as well. We would amortize that into a monthly recurring charge. A lot of the other brands are doing this now too. And one of the things that I was excited to talk to you about, Paul, was we're seeing this in the consumer markets as well. Whenever anything goes, we're in the business to business. We mainly support enterprises and small and medium businesses, as well as some government organizations, but we're mainly corp to corp, right? We're business to business folks. We don't sell to consumers. The end user consumer kind of commercial market, Apple came out on their earnings call and on some notifications last week that they're going to start selling. You can basically start subscribing to your iPhone the same way you subscribe to services in the App Store. You can subscribe to your MacBook. You can basically pay a subscription fee every single month for your device, your network, your phone, everything as a service. You can basically just pay a rental fee, right? You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. You don't own it. You're going to subscribe to your phone or to your laptop or to any of your computing devices from Apple the same way you do within the App Store.
It's like Netflix of hardware.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a new thing, right? So these everything as a service, it sounds new because a lot of folks used to capitalize these large purchases, right? Cisco, we've been a gold Cisco partner for a long time, sell a huge network refresh, right? You get all the Catalyst switches or whatever, and Nexus and whatever, and you're basically refreshing the entire core. Multi-million-dollar project, you spend a lot of time scoping it out, and then all the network switches drop, and you drop ship them, and you do the transaction. It's a one-time PO, big payment, great. Now, and we've been doing this for a long time, a service provider like us or Cisco Capital themselves, they finance that transaction, and then they basically sell it to that customer as a service, right? So $2 million over the course of 3 to 5 years becomes a $35,000, $45,000, $60,000 a month monthly reoccurring charge for that same investment. It's just consumed a different way. A lot of this has to do with what we're seeing in the financial markets and the interest rates, right? I think these guys are a little bit behind because we're about to enter a tightening cycle with the Federal Reserve. They're raising interest rates right now. So folks rolling out this everything as a service and having to finance the stuff themselves, they're going to see higher interest rates. But what's interesting is these large multinational companies, Cisco, Dell, HP, are trying to do what Apple just promoted to the consumer industry. Hey, consume this as a service. And what we're seeing, like you mentioned, point 3 in that article there, that the revenue gap between public clouds and everything as a service alternatives is widening. I'm assuming we're going to get to the point that in the article where it talks about how everything as a service, kind of private cloud plays are not keeping up with the exponential growth of Azure and Google Cloud and AWS, which we're seeing that in our business in the same way. Those hyperscalers, if you will, once you invest in those, it's kind of that Hotel California. Once you get in, you can't necessarily get your data out effectively. So once you build that practice, those things can grow exponentially. And we're seeing that across the board.
Speaking of the widening gap, let's take a look at everything as a service revenue. When just looking at Hewlett Packard, for the first quarter, it raised 136%. That sounds impressive, but for the quarter, HPE's annual recurring revenue was $798 million, relatively small compared with the billions of dollars that Amazon, Microsoft, and Google Cloud generate each quarter. For instance, AWS revenue was $17.8 billion in Q4 of 2021, up 39.5% year over year, while Microsoft 365 and productivity tools revenue was $18.5 billion in the company's most recent quarter, up 26%, and Google Cloud revenue was $5.54 billion in the most recent quarter, up 45%. So the number is definitely huge delta there.
Yeah, compared to like Cisco's annual reoccurring revenue. And so it's kind of funny. I mean, there's different drivers behind why people are reporting the revenue certain ways. You're getting a higher valuation, right, for your annual recurring revenue. Kind of back to our earlier point of what we're talking about today. How do you make money? How do you get paid? How are you judged? These companies are being, the investor class is basically incentivizing and paying a higher multiple in the stock market for reoccurring revenue. Everyone's figured out that the stickier you get with your customer, the more reoccurring revenue you get with that customer, the more predictable your revenue streams are. It's a wow, there's kind of a no moment, but these folks are figuring out like, hey, we're going to basically tie ourselves to our customers and get stickier revenue. It's like, yeah, of course. But they're basically kind of reporting their numbers in a way that gets them the best valuation. I would argue some of the annual recurring revenue from some of the larger companies out there are probably just licensing subscriptions that we're going to call that cloud revenue. Is it any different than how they sold it previously? Maybe they tweaked a little bit about it. Maybe they have a call home feature as far as reporting utilization, but is it really different? I don't know. The AWS revenue, the Microsoft Azure and 365 productivity suite, the SaaS revenue, that is subscription-based, cloud-based, reoccurring revenue. The Azure, Microsoft, AWS, Google, they have their hooks into an organization when you choose one of those paths. It's fun to see how people are kind of rebranding themselves. And I think a lot of this revenue and how it's being reported is tied back to money and tied back to how these folks are getting investment dollars and getting higher multiples, for their company's stock, basically. But what's exciting for Quest and, selfishly, our business model is we've been doing this a very, very long time with private cloud environments, but we also have the capacity within our DevOps groups and our general managed services and managed security services. We're helping customers consume Microsoft Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud, right? We're helping them migrate on-premise private instances to those, as well as helping organizations, with that everything as a service model. Everything as a service model is something that's been baked into our culture for the last 18 years. We developed this practice called QuestFlex, where we deliver technology as a service, and we've been bundling things together for a very, very long time. It's exciting for us and exciting for our customers who've been with us for a long time, because no matter which path is selected, hey, do we want to jump on board with the 365 Azure or AWS world, or do we want to invest in consuming private cloud as a service in one of the Quest delivery centers? Both of those options are open to them. I don't think it's an either or, but one of the things that's exciting about this article is it's talking about how both are growing. Potentially one might be growing faster than the other. I would also have to think that some of the supply chain constraints that people are seeing, it's a little bit difficult to build private instances right now. So people who do have capacity, Azure, folks like us who've invested proactively and have built out capacity in our data centers, those, people you need compute, you need storage, you need to buy it now. And you maybe can't wait for that, 6-month lead time to get that certain switch in order to build out your data center. So they're moving at a faster rate to places that have capacity. One of the things on that podcast I referenced earlier on the tape, they mentioned that back in the initial .com build up and bust and boom, they had tons of capacity, right? When 2000s and the .com bust, the telecommunications industry built out amazing amount of capacity, but there weren't that many people on it. Now everybody is leveraging Microsoft 365. Everybody's leveraging Teams. Everyone's leveraging bandwidth capacity of their homes and working remotely. Everyone's on this infrastructure that was built back in the 2000s to support this SaaS environment. And what that means is that one, that revenue is sticky, that capacity is there, and it's not like it's going to all of a sudden just disappear like it did in the .com bust. The capacity is there, the subscriptions are there, the people are using it. They're just trying to figure out, okay, what's the best path to support my enterprise? Do I invest in everything as a service model where it's a little bit more predictable, or do I jump into something that can scale very, very quickly, but there could be some cost ramifications down the road? Those are fun conversations. Those are business conversations. Really doesn't have anything to do with technology. Has mainly to do with how do you want to scale and how do you want to manage your costs.
It is interesting you mentioned the stickiness, because it does remind me of QuestFlex as I'm reading what Apple's planning with the subscriptions, because once they bring you into the ecosystem and give you an iPhone or a Mac, you're exposed to the Apple TV services. You're exposed to their iMusic, the iCloud Plus, the email, the Hide My Email, the private relays, the HomeKit secure video, and the Apple One bundle. There's all these little things that you start realizing, oh, I enjoy this a lot. So you start becoming very sticky with their services, with their products. And it does remind me a lot of QuestFlex.
It's a great offering, right? You subscribe to it. So we did one, deal. One of my first opportunities when I was working with Quest as an account manager was we put together a bundled server platform, Cisco UCS. I think there was some Pure storage attached to it. We put this bundle together for a customer and we amortized it out over 5 years. And we sold it to them as their private smart stack for about 5 years. At the end of the 5 years, they had the option to extend it or basically upgrade to the latest and greatest. They elected to upgrade to the latest and greatest. We refreshed it the same way they would have refreshed it if they had to go out and buy a whole new kit, right? You bring in the reps, you do the dog and pony show, you get the latest and greatest, and then you buy the new gear and you swap out the old gear and you do a professional services contract to do that. And then you do a PO for the order and the drop shipment of the hardware and you do that. Under QuestFlex, under the kind of everything as a service, we've almost been through 3 refresh cycle iterations of this whole world. And we went through that one the same way. We upgraded to new storage, we upgraded to new servers, we upgraded to new core routing, and we continue to deliver that platform as a service to that customer at the end of their term. It's really exciting because we know this move. It's basically you associate your costs for operating equipment, you associate your costs for purchasing it, and then associate your margin for keeping the lights on. That's how you do it. There's really no secret sauce to it other than you better have great people, and we do, operating your enterprise and keeping things up and running and ready to roll. So that's very exciting. I was pumped to see Apple was doing this because honestly, it helps us tell the story that we've been telling for a long time. Once the commercial market starts to learn about these everything as a service opportunities.
Hey, look, see, they're doing it over at Apple. We had a good idea.
It's a good program. It's a good idea. I'm glad Apple and Tim Cook have caught up with our innovation. That's a total joke, complete joke. But yeah, it's good to see when these things hit the consumer market and become mainstream. It's fun to see that evolve.
Love it. Hey, thank you for breaking that down and sharing all that insight. I think it's such an awesome explanation of everything as a service and what we've been doing at Quest for a number of years.
Thanks, Paul.
Before we go, Adam, we want to talk real quick about a big event in Las Vegas, Channel Partners, that is happening in April. And you and Gary and Darcy are all going there.
Yeah. So Channel Partners is coming up. We're going to be in town for that whole event, April 11th through the 14th. Darcy Baker, who's our VP of Digital Marketing and helping support the partner program, as well as Gary Schick, myself, and a few new faces to Quest are going to be at the show. Would love to meet with anyone who's going to be there. Very, very excited about it. The channel is absolutely exploding with opportunities right now across from everything from physical infrastructure, collaboration, security, going to be a ton around security at some of our partners this go around. So really excited about it. Channel Partners, we're coordinating meetings now while we're in town. And if you have an opportunity to meet with us while you're there, please let us know. We'll put a link to it in the show notes, but looking forward to meeting everyone at Channel Partners this April 11th through the 14th.
Awesome. We'll see you there. Have a good week.
You too.
Thanks so much for listening. The Incident Report is brought to you by Quest Technology Management. With over 40 years of experience, Quest is a leading technology integrator working seamlessly with your staff and systems to achieve your IT goals. Learn more about everything they do at questsys.com. And if you have questions or suggestions for the podcast, you can always email Adam and myself at theincidentreport@questsys.com. We hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next time.